and we are live on LinkedIn. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this live about 5 secrets to successful job search for immigrant women. I'm very glad to have Ilya Francis with us. Hi, Ilya.
How are you doing? I want to make sure that either our conversation is I still hear, my background, my phone, your phone. So just in case, please, if you're listening, if you're watching us live, check out whether the sound is perfect because we have a ton to say.
So, Ilya, please introduce yourself. I'm very, very excited about this talk. People who don't know you, Ilya is based in Canada, originally from Venezuela, but please introduce yourself.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I want to say hello to Takshi, that is on the Instagram live. And she's also an avid LinkedIner. So hello, Takshi. I am an environmental health and safety advisor. I am an industrial engineer. And I came to Canada 10 years ago looking for something different. As a Venezuelan, as an original from a third world country, a developing country. I studied for so many years. I got an engineering degree, and I realized that we don't have the same expectation and quality of life that we have in other countries. I had, probably $2 a month salary before coming to Canada. And as an engineer with an extensive background, for example, in oil and gas. So I came to Canada with another expectation and immediately found out that I could help others. But it had to be from my own mindset to overcome, the barrier. How do I do it? Where do I start? I don't think I'm good enough. I don't have the same capabilities. So what I did was, taking certain steps, and it made me fall in love with consulting, with helping people getting to do the same. So it was an amazing experience, and that gave me the courage to start my own consulting business, especially for women. Who don't know where can they start, either finding their skills, seeing the gap in an immigrant, with a their immigrant mindset, with a different culture, with a different job market. And then I fell in love with LinkedIn. I realized, how the power of my voice, the posting, the knowledge that I had, someone else needed it in the platform. And I lost my fear to expressing my message, to saying, a true, meaningful information that someone else might be struggling right now. So this is me in a nutshell. I'm a little girl. I love, I have a very light person, dancing, silly. I am a goofball, but especially I want people to understand that there's more of you, there's more of me that you don't see that we can do for others.
It's really a pleasure to have you here on this live with me, and I also want to say hi to everyone who has joined us. I see many women joining us here from different places all over the world, so you can say where you're watching us from. I see Sonal here. She's from Belgium. And Simone said that there was an echo with my voice. I hope it's resolved now. So let us know where you are joining us from, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. So I will check them during during the conversation. So, um, what we have in common that we are both immigrant women. I moved from Estonia to Sweden when I was just a little girl, and then I have lived in Belgium and in Austria and a couple of years in Brazil. So most of my adult life, I've been an immigrant woman, so I know what it means, and it's a struggle to find a job. So I have this question that I got into my DM, direct message. Uh, she says, I feel hopeless. I have applied for 50 jobs during 2 years and I have only got three callbacks. And I can't talk openly about it on LinkedIn because I have a job now and ageism is real. So I wanted to stop here a little bit and take it from there are different issues that I'd like to take with this one. What would you say?
Well, there's something that we all need to face. And when we finish university or we start our career, uh, there are, those job opportunities, and we want to fill them up right away. We consider that we have what it takes. Do we really have we been honest with ourselves and found the gaps in, for example, our resume that actually doesn't match those job openings? But yes, there's something that us women confront and we have to face every day. And then people or the companies really tend to find, yes, you want a person with 10 years of experience, but also a young person that can actually have maybe a mid-entry salary, that can have, that can be, the return of investment can be actually higher than maybe a person who has 20, 30 years of experience and they have a fantastic resume. They have a work for, in different positions. And now what the companies are looking for are mid-level entry jobs, that what they are posting. So I know that there is opportunities for everyone. We know sometimes understand how to position ourselves, but also I cannot be unaware of that. First of all, for example, you, Tina, and I are white women. We're white women. Our conditions and our experiences, but also the outcomes of looking for job opportunities based on our skill set, etc., is very different from a Black woman, from a Muslim woman who come to different countries. That are not there, they're part of the culture. So ethnicity, culture, gender, it's all present and intersects in all different. This is a perspective from my past experience. Having one, you gotta, if you have applied for 50 jobs and you've only received 3 calls, then there is something with the document. There's something with the document that might be representing you. Check out the resume. The copy and paste, we know and we understand it doesn't work for all the companies. You have multiple job openings that you want to apply for, and you apply with this exact same resume. Well, there's something that you are going to miss from all these openings. So being honest to what the job opportunity is. Do you really have the skill sets that they are asking? And if you don't have, you need to make sure that the past experience is meaningful enough for that job opening for you to be considered. Is it going through an applicant tracking system? Are you applying online? That 99% of the times mean that you might be filtered by an automation. So you need to understand whether the resume is actually optimized for those automations to absorb you, to make you stand out on the list or not. And if you're not, then you have to go, the extra mile. I've had the luck, the opportunity, and I would say the tool to say that I've had my, I've been always headhunted. I haven't I haven't looked for a job except for when I came to Canada that I started looking for a job, and after. But otherwise, my resume has worked in on my behalf all the time, even when I'm not looking for job opportunities, because I'm either with my consulting business, or because I was on maternity leave, I was taking care of babies, I was getting interview requests, or send me your resume, being contacted by recruiters, even though I signaled on LinkedIn that I was not open. So there is very important. There are two documents, and not two documents. You have two tools. One is your resume that says, that gives the weight of your experience. But it all ends there. If you don't have, the grit to reach out to key people, to find them, and to request answers, if you're not being contacted because the tracking system is not taking your resume, then find a coach. There are plenty of career coaches. Tina, you and I know plenty of. You are one. So they need to understand, and you need to understand that your resume has to be quite optimized for the job opportunity. And if not, then you are simply spraying and praying, trying to, telling God to give you a miracle and make you find a job. And we know that in reality that doesn't work well.
So yeah, I would also say that if you come from another country, another culture, check the local differences from the CVs, because for example, I get 50-50 CVs or resumes with a photo and without the photo. So in Belgium, it's very common to send a resume with a photo, and on the other side of the world, or English speaking countries, it's weird to get a resume with a photo. So check out what is normal. Do you put your address there? Do you put your age? Do you put your civil status? Those are small things that really make a difference, but they stand out. Check what is the norm where you're applying, because those small details show that you have the local cultural awareness. And how many pages are the CVs? Talk to other people, because I think most of us are very happy to share our knowledge, because it was not easy. So you want to make it easier for the others who are coming. So just reach out to other people.
Absolutely.
And
And so I can't say that I know the experience of a woman who is being rejected because of her age, because I am not like, and still I can tell you I am 43 years old, and you might not notice, you might not see it, you might not pay attention to it. We all age very differently, but in the end, finding one, the gaps in your resume compared to the current job market. Two, understanding that the wording that is in your resume, plays an essential part, especially the top, whether it is in your culture or the country that you're living right now. Currently, for example, Canada does not allow you to have a picture on your resume. You don't need to show your address, but there are certain, there's a structure that you must follow. And it's completely different to what I was used to back in Venezuela. In Venezuela, you must have a picture, and maybe not the address, but the wording, the content, the structure, the shiny, the resume was, the more different it was, the easier it was for the person to get it, to draw the attention. But it doesn't work here. It doesn't work in Canada. It doesn't work in the United States. In Europe, you might have, different norm or standards depending on the country, and they are completely different.
Yes.
You told me something, Tina, that I was amazed by. The people where you live in Sweden, right? You are, or sorry, in Belgium. You can't, you won't be able, or you will struggle to find a job if you have an accent. That is terrible. That is discriminatory. But any immigrant who goes and lives in Belgium or establishes themselves in Belgium needs to be aware of that there's certain bias, a hidden bias in the workplace because of it. So we need to understand, see how to overcome it. Successful immigrants aren't the ones who not only stand up for themselves, but also are flexible to adapt to new work conditions. And that's one of the five elements to make a successful job entry on any country that you go to. Just to define your gaps. What are your gaps in education? What are your gaps in culture? What are your gaps in language? What happens if you cannot communicate properly in the same way that you did it in your mother country? People will judge you by that. You might have 3 degrees, you might have a PhD, but if you really cannot effectively communicate in the same way that a person from Belgium, from a person in a person from a person in Canada can do it in the workplace, then they are going to target you. They're going to put you in a box, and unfortunately, it is what it is.
I think you always have to show what are your strengths. So as the first suggestion, I work mostly with multinational companies where additional languages are required or a plus. So I would focus the job search on multinational companies where it's an asset to have the additional languages and also the cultural knowledge, because business is not done in the same way in Southern Europe. Every country is different. So if you have the local knowledge, show it. And something else that I always want to say about CVs is that your CV is the marketing tool to get you to interviews. So it really has to be inviting for a conversation. So what recruiters do, what we do is we look at the job description and we look at your CV and we try to find the match as best as we can when it comes your background, your educational background, your experiences. So if you're new to the job market, choose the jobs that you're applying to, take the job description and compare if you have the same words on your resume and on the job description. There are synonyms synonyms. So use the right word. If you're looking for a job in procurement and they use the title buyer or sourcing, you need to have the right word, what's in the job description. Make it easy to make the connection. So with examples, so that people will, or they can make the connection and easily say yes to you. So, because it's not always as logical as we see it in our own heads.
So, our last Saturday conversation was, we got to understand the story behind us, and there is another aspect that an immigrant should rely and lean on, and that's the culture, and that's who you are and where you come from. It has to become part of the small talk when you get yourself out there and getting to know people. But you gotta build your network. That's something that we earn with trust and with time. It doesn't take 2 days. It might take a year, but it might take your grit and your responsibility to, one, find people that live in that new country that you are.
Exactly. So you have a great network in your home country, but you need to build a new one where you will live and work in the future.
It's probably what makes or breaks your successful job search. You are going to put yourself out there. And what is the story that I've heard? I don't know, Tina, if you've done it, if you've heard it, because you are facing people who need jobs, who are looking for it, and you basically go through the same scrutiny questions: what they need, do they really have the skills for the job that it's being open. And it is when you don't have anybody that can support that background experience, where you come from. When you're in a brand new country, the first thing you need to do is give yourself time to be known, but you gotta put yourself out there. And especially women, when they move to another country with their partners, they are the ones who tend to stay home, because the husband is the one who needs to go out and find the first job opportunity wherever. In my case, I came to Canada and I met my husband in Canada, so it was me who needed to put myself out there. As soon as I had my work permit, the first thing I did was to take my bus, because I didn't have a car by then, to take a bus to the local mall that was nearest to my house. And I said, I am going to find a job. I know that I am not the typical immigrant, because I had to, immediately start using the language, as my husband never spoke Spanish. He doesn't speak Spanish. So I have to force myself to speak the language, to learn inflections, and to not to blend, but to assimilate the culture that I was surrounded by. So I learned, obviously, my husband is a sports lover, so he taught me everything about hockey. And in Canada, hockey is huge, but it was a part of my small talk. The small talk made the whole difference. And people will say, but how long have you been here? And I said 6 months, 1 year, 18 months. And they would say, like, unbelievable. I didn't know how you can, how easy it was. Or, you don't seem like you've been here for only a year. It seems like for you, it's been longer. So I realized that I am not the typical immigrant story. And finding what made me successful. And actually, look what Simone just mentioned in the comments: the language, the huge barrier, networking with culture, community, it's important. And that's what I did. By finding a job in the local mall at a watch store, I decided to break the fear. You might not see it, but I am an introvert. I
Me too.
felt like I can't start talking to someone in a different language just because. And I felt like, well, the world is gonna come to an end every time a person would address me. And I have to learn, different skill set, a different language, and a different way to address a stranger compared to a person that I already knew. And I always said, like, look, I might not have the best language skills, but let me know if I make a mistake. By going straight to say that I might make a mistake and that it's okay for that person to tell me, well, it's not pronounced this way. It's pronounced this. You're telling the person, I am learning. I know how to express myself, but that might not be the right word. So you are fine to telling me because I am learning. I want to be better. So the perspective, the mindset, and the approach makes it all, makes a huge difference. So building that network, and how to build your network. If you really don't know anybody, I know that it's actually kind of the game of the egg and what came first, either the chicken or the egg. You gotta put it yourself out there. If you don't find yet opportunities, like paid opportunities, try to find a way to help someone. Volunteering. Tina, I don't know whether it is allowed, because cultures and countries have completely different standards and experiences. But you are able to volunteer here, at different offices if you find, or non-for-profit organizations, if you find that availability. Is that the same in Belgium, for example, or you gotta go through certain aspects before even considering doing this?
I think there are so many organizations who really need a helping hand. So that's a really good one. Let me just pop into the comments and see. We have Simone from Toronto joining us.
Hi,
Uh,
Simone. She's a thought leadership branding member. She is a speaker on Clubhouse, so she's almost kind of like my LinkedIn friend as well. And she lives here in Canada too, in Ontario.
and we have Kelly Winter from West Palm Beach, from Florida. Oh, yeah, she's originally from southern Brazil, but she also does great work with LinkedIn. And honestly, LinkedIn is such a great tool. So when we talk about networking, if you don't know anyone and how to reach out, use LinkedIn. Uh, do a search, reach out to people with a personalized invitation, leave comments on their content. People are very happy to network on LinkedIn, people who are active there. So reach out to people and have conversations. You don't have to do everything alone and figure out um, everything alone, because it's impossible. You need help from other people.
Absolutely. And there's a big comment on Instagram as well. It's very important. So internship, paid internship when starting career. So I totally agree with being creative to start getting work experience. And
Hi,
as I
Maria.
said, as I said from the beginning. Hello, Bill. As I said from the beginning, there is a factor, and I am speaking from being a white Latin American. People have told me that if I am French because I have an accent, and I'm like my accent is not French, but maybe it's French Canadian. We understand that sometimes we have French Canadians who have a very strong and different accents from what you can find here. In Ontario, for example, there are 50 to 60 different nationalities living in Toronto. So it's one of the most diverse cities in the world. So I am used to listening to different accents, Asians, Europeans, Southeast Asian, Latin Americans, and I know my Latin Americans. As soon as I hear, like, I understand, where the person might come from. But the idea is find yourself a way to be proactive, a way to, like, although you might be an introvert, the only difference that will be made is whether you put yourself out there, whether you start creating a community on LinkedIn or the social media that you prefer, because Twitter is also big. It's great. You might even create a fan base and community on Instagram as well. So define what is the medium from which you can be seen more often, because we are biased. We are on LinkedIn right now. We are LinkedIn lovers. We understand that we hang out on a daily basis with people here. But I understand that many people have never, entered, started using it or knowing about LinkedIn. They might know something, but they don't even know how to use it. And it differs from the country where you are. My younger brother is in Chile. And in Chile, the way that you find your job and that you apply for an opportunity is completely different than in North America. The big CV, you gotta be very formal, and you need to have multiple certifications in order for that recruiter, HR specialist, or hiring manager to consider you. You have to have the exact skill sets that have been posted for the job. And that's something that we know that it doesn't work because we're not cut, we're not cookie cutter. We're not cut in the same way. So we can actually excel in an interview, have that personal side, but when the culture makes the difference, when the culture tells you something different, the job market and how do you business, how do you find a job and put yourself out there, if you don't know it, you might clash, and you're going to find those barriers. You're going to find that people don't hire you. So find yourself a way, and it's not blend in. The
No.
first thought in my face, on my head was blending in with the job market. It's not. It's understanding, it's embracing it, and showing, what are your best marketing skills. Because in the end, a resume and your LinkedIn profile are marketing tools. How good you write, yourself, have you been, or that baggage of experience that you've been carrying for so long is presented on a piece of paper or on a screen, is what will definitely help you be successful in your job search.
Yes, and it's really about the know, like, and trust factor. If people don't know you, meaning if you just arrived to the country, or that you have low profile, meaning you're not active in networking events or in on LinkedIn, because like you said, LinkedIn is the biggest social media, professional social media platform. So if you're looking for a job, you should get over there and make yourself a profile and become active there, but also be visible, so that people will start liking you, and then they want to work with you and trust you. So I think it's really important to take the first step. That's how we met. If you would have just been doing the minimum, just being focusing on your work, that and not building your network, we would have never met. So you really have to be proactive. Like, you should fix the roof before it starts raining. So start networking before you need a job, because when you reach out to people when you're desperate, that really people can sniff it. It's
Absolutely.
not
It's
attractive.
evident. It's
Yeah,
evident.
and your
Yeah.
confidence is not on top either. So do that before you need the people. Put the money in the bank, meaning invest, uh, and then you can start asking favors, instead of reaching out to recruiters with your CV, in, not saying even hello, but just sending your CV to others. That's not the way to do it.
That's not the
Really
way.
build the relationship and get to know other people.
So I have a case. Um, you landed in this new country, and you want to find yourself because you maybe have certain savings that will keep you, um, sustain you for so long, and then start getting desperate. What do? You simply reach out to people within, in your desperate state. And as I said, this is a this is something that I've never lived. I cannot talk for those who are really struggling, who've done anything possible and still cannot find a job, and they have a family to sustain, they have they have responsibilities, they have bills to pay. When you go to your job search, either online or whether you have someone who has referred you from your local community, and you go from the point of view or from the perspective of, can you please give me a job, it really is a turn down. Like, I know there might be points in which we need to be in this state, and we might find someone who can help us, who can actually be compassionate and understand, but really put us in touch with someone. When you want to put yourself out there, please, nobody will talk to you. Like, what happens when you are approached by a stranger on the street right on the spot and they tell you something? What you do is like, hey, uh, you are invading my space. I haven't invited you. I haven't given you my trust. So introduce yourself in any channel. Introduce yourself. Tell a little bit about you, and be direct, be straight. If you don't have the time to build up a relationship, then with your elevator pitch. But the elevator pitch for a professional is having the story behind what you want to do and what you are able right now, what you are capable of. So be ready to say, this is where I come from. This is, I have this much experience. And even if the work or the job opportunity doesn't match your skill set, so like, I am open to explore finding my way through this job temporarily, and see how I can help the organization to be better, and explore better positions, or simply come from the point of view that you're serving. By doing that, your attitude will sell yourself for you. There's a beautiful story about a man from Venezuela, coincidentally, that I connected with years ago on Instagram, by the way, because I simply saw, or probably on Facebook, about this Venezuelan who came to Canada and based himself in downtown Toronto. We understand, and those who live here understand, that downtown Toronto is very, very expensive. Well, generally, all downtown cities are very, very, very expensive. So he didn't know anybody. He based himself in downtown Toronto and found, I believe, an entry job cleaning the washrooms in subway. That, and although he had a marketing major back in Venezuela, but because he didn't know anybody, his only disposition was, I gotta find a job, anything. So he found himself, cleaning washrooms on the TTC. We all know that TTC is the Toronto Transit Commission, so we call the subway, or the buses, TTC. So he found himself, cleaning washrooms every day on the TTC, and the story's on YouTube, so anybody could tune in. His name is Joshua Alvarez, and you can find it. You can find the story because he also loved filmography. He also loved film editing. So he wanted to also volunteer. He wanted to get into the world of TV, of television. So he started cleaning washrooms with the same attitude, and he said that he has the biggest smile I've ever seen. He always greeted people, no matter how you might consider cleaning washrooms in a subway might be. That can be very, very uh, intimidating, and maybe feeling that this is not a job that I deserve to do. But he changed the perspective of it. He said, I went every day to the same place with a smile, because and I greeted everyone. So he started getting noticed by this person, and he started always a conversation, because he was a regular. He started a conversation with this guy, and he always said like, oh, I would love to have an opportunity on TV. I love editing, I love the world of television, but I would love to be a cameraman one day. And it happens. I don't know how this came up, but this guy, who he always had a conversation, say good morning, good afternoon, have the best day ever. He was one of the VPs, or a manager at a local TV station. I believe CBC, CBC News. And he actually said, but what is your major? And he said, well, I was a manager back in Venezuela, and I used to work for telecommunications. And I believe he had a master degree or something like that. He's highly skilled cleaning washrooms. And he said, but what are you doing here? Take my business card, and can you please come tomorrow to this address? So the guy happens to be his next boss, his next manager. And he found his way there just because he put himself out there in the least possible environment, in a TTC, in a public washroom, at a subway station. So how incredible an immigrant story is. And this is, the Cinderella story. And now he's a manager. He's, I believe, the VP of multiculturalism at the Toronto Pearson Airport. He went all the way to be a VP of operations, and in one of the biggest, the busiest airports in the country. So there you have an immigrant story. And you don't define yourself from what you're doing currently, but you need to build a network by talking to people.
Yes, and here's a nice comment from Vanessa Wagner, who is a Brazilian living here in Belgium, graphic designer. A smile can change any perspective. So really having this mindset, being open, being positive, no matter your current situation. If it wasn't the ideal situation, but he knew where he wanted to be. So still keep this positive attitude, and this is what attracts people to you. Negative mindset pushes people off.
He knew that although he was going to clean one of the dirtiest washrooms in the country, the job was not going to determine who he was. He gave actual meaning to the job with his attitude. So what we've been talking for already 42 minutes is one, determine what are the gaps in your resume. What are the new conditions, the culture, what you might not even know about this new job market. So then you also need to understand that you have a mindset to overcome, because it really stings when someone corrects you because you didn't pronounce the word the right way. But understand that this is a learning process. Although you are an adult, maybe a young adult, maybe a senior who has decided to go to a different country for whatever conditions. They might not be the best in your country, and you're simply surviving. So there is the attitude. You understand that you have a gap in your language, maybe, and expressly you say that I am learning, and I am open for you to correct me if I am not pronouncing properly the words, but I want to get better. When people see that you have that attitude of learning, of accepting, people actually open their way and their thoughts to help you out in any way they can. And what is the fourth? Also, lean on your skill sets. Maybe because we're desperate, or that we said we come to a new country, we need to find a job in anything. anything and everything is the same thing as praying and praying. You got to understand what are your real strengths and go for the jobs that you were used to. Although you might have the gaps, as I said, I go back to the first point. Determine what are the gaps that you have between the job market, your cultures, and what are the requirements to get a job. For example, in Belgium, you have certain requirements. When you go to Venezuela, you have different requirements. When you come to Canada, you have, you must understand that they tell you to have a Canadian experience. And you might say, like, well, this is very discriminatory because I just landed in Canada. I cannot have Canadian experience. So how do you manage that obstacle? Go to volunteering, find non-for-profit associations, find immigrant community or programs for immigrants where they all know that, having the Canadian experience is key to find a job. And it is a filter, one, to make sure that you have the documents, that you are legal, that you are able to work because you have a work permit, but especially that you can communicate, So knowing that where you are at in language and skill set and in the culture and understand how to do it, you will find your way there. But also the fourth one is essential, and it is your attitude. If you really feel like you can't get out of the house because people are going to judge you, you're not putting yourself out there. You're not doing your a service. That's right?
Exactly. And what is very common, because my work is to contact people who are not actively looking for jobs, and offer them the job to participate in the job search process. And I so often come across women who have all the skill set, who have the experience, who have the languages, who have the studies, and then there is one thing that is missing, and then they say, yeah, but I'm not the right candidate. And this mindset also limiting yourself, because most of the time when I speak to hiring manager, I ask them, are you open to a more junior candidate? And then they say, yes, of course, I'm open to coaching. I even prefer that somebody comes with 80%, and in the next 2-3 years together we will grow and get you on the right level, and you're motivated, than somebody who is already at 100% and can do the job with their left hand and is not motivated. So always apply for the jobs, because it's only the people who apply who will be selected. If you don't put yourself out there, you can't even get a yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Like 4 or 3 years ago, I saw this job position and in the here on LinkedIn, and then I applied for it. I had 8 out of 10 of the skill sets of the skills that were required to do the job. So I knew that the job was my right fit. I really wanted it. I really wanted to explore a new industry, a manufacturing industry. And I didn't receive any calls, and I'm like, okay, there is something. Is either the recruiter or the person posting the job is extremely busy and haven't seen it. So I waited a day, or I believe it was a day, and I found their phone numbers. I called, and they said like, oh, I didn't know. I didn't see your application. So what's your name? Can you come tomorrow to this address? Sometimes it takes only a call, because this person might be filling up for so many positions and receiving emails, countless of emails, and they might see probably the first 3, 5, and you get buried within hundreds and hundreds of applications. I did that. I got the job.
Yeah,
and
it is also that you're proactive, because
exactly.
Most people are applying to hundreds of jobs, and when I call, they don't even remember the job, and it doesn't give a good impression. If you don't remember it, print it out, have it with you. If somebody calls you back, it shows your motivation.
Exactly. Simone in the comments is mentioning you got to have a positive approach. So show that you really are eager. One thing is showing your eagerness, and another one is showing that you are desperate.
Desperate.
And
Two
within a
different things.
desperate, exactly, within a desperate mindset, you are going to start being rude to people because you don't know how to, you know, get in the polite way to say, do you consider that the position is something that can be up to the skill sets that I'm presenting, rather than, can you find me a job? That's that. How rude does it start? And I've had, as a LinkedIn consultant, people, and it might be a cultural understanding, it might be a communications, it might be a translation issue. But I've had people that I've never seen in my life before, that I've never been connected, but they followed me and they send me an email. Can you check my LinkedIn, please? Can you check my, I need a job. Can you check my LinkedIn? And I understand immediately that there is either a communication issue, a cultural approach that, of course, is not my own, and that I need to address the person, but I gotta correct it. I gotta understand that not everybody, thinks and assimilates the information, or might even not have access to information, but they bumped into me and my message as a LinkedIn consultant. And then they simply slide into my DMs. Find me a job, please. I am desperate. I even had the case, unfortunately, right here on Instagram, about a lady from the Middle East who sent me, probably, I wasn't even like conscious whether she was a fake account, a scammer, but she asked me, please find me a job. I was blocked on LinkedIn. I need a job. And she sent me her passport information. Like a photo of her passport, and then a photo of another sensitive piece of information. I said, like, please don't do this. Please don't do this, because I don't need to see sensitive information, especially a stranger. Don't send it to a stranger online just because you might be desperate, or that you cannot communicate effectively. I need a job. Can you check with LinkedIn? Can you unblock my account? And I said, I don't work at LinkedIn. I cannot do that. But this is where you can submit your request. So I gave her the link, and I still, can you find me a job? And she sent me it. And I'm like, I cannot help you with, with what you're saying. There might be many aspects or many factors in which, the bots or the automations on LinkedIn, caught your profile and block it. But I can't do anything. So awareness is it's key, but especially finding that mindset out of the desperation, and instead finding friends that can truly guide you is it definitely determining into your successful job search.
Yeah. So let me see here. We have Bill from Virginia, Bill McLean. He
This is
says, yeah, fix the roof before it rains. Love that. So do the networking before. Kelly Winter says, always keep building relationships. You never know who knows, and it may be leading you to an opportunity. You can be sure it will be leading you to an opportunity. Gina Salazar, also from
Regina,
Brazilian
¿cómo
from
estás?
Belgium, a very good coach, is saying hello to us. And Mariam, agree, you need to sell your skills. So let us recap. What are those 5 things that you really cannot ignore? What you have to think about?
One, understand understand your gaps. You gotta be honest. You cannot simply say, I have a master's degrees, I have an engineering degree, I can find a job everywhere. Because that's not being aware of your current situation against a new culture, against a new market, against new rules. So, one, define what your gaps are within that job market. The gaps can be accreditations, the gaps can be simply that you don't have, for example, here in Canada, the Canadian experience. And that is a reality I faced. That is a reality every immigrant in Canada faces, unless you come from an English speaking country and the institutions, the jobs that you performed back in your original, the previous country you lived in, are matching the same requirements that you get here to be considered as a valid professional. So you have a seamlessly entry into a different job market. But define the gaps in education. Do you need maybe a course, maybe a diploma degree that takes 6 months to a year to complete? Then go for it. In the meantime, if you need to sustain a family, of course, there are entry jobs that are just like I did. And I know that I am a special case because I learned English with a person, my partner helped me develop my fluency. I know that when you have a wife, when you have a partner who speaks the same language to you, and you guys go to a different country with a different language, there is a language assimilation, and it takes time. So what can be a job that doesn't require you to communicate effectively in the language? I don't know. I'm not a recruiter, but I know that there can be many activities that can help you get there. Is either breaking your fear of speaking in public, whether you're doing a job that doesn't require public interaction but allows you to start having an income, and therefore you start having something in your resume that can say, I assimilated my transition into a new job market by doing this so many entry jobs. I'm proud of that. That helps me to be where I am right now, and now I'm ready to scale my professional career, to step again in what I really love. I study for. And as I said, it's how you conduct yourself. So you have the gaps, you have the network. Your supporting network in a new country is not given right away. There are associations, that are organizations that they have immigrant programs, because they know that when an immigrant comes to a new country, they might not have any friends, so they need someone to support them. So start building those relationships with whoever you have available, and show that you can be a trusted person. Then the third one, you gotta understand, what are the requirements for your current job market. It's different. Do you need a photo on your CV, on your resume? Do you need to show that you speak 3 languages, maybe 9 languages, like Tina? I don't know, but understand, what is the best way to embrace the job, this new job market, and go for it. Second, the fourth one is the mindset. Probably is the most important one. If you don't have the proactive, the driven mindset, and it's not motivation, not being a motivated professional, because us most of the time are motivated, but we really are disciplined on one, getting up, one, being organized and getting things done. It's determination of finding it, of finding the person, finding the job, finding the organization, or finding someone online who can help you. That is what truly makes or breaks a successful immigrant search. And then fifth, design a plan. Just create a plan. What is it that makes this similarity between your culture and the one that you're coming. We haven't talked about this, but Tina, isn't it important to understand how to relate to the locals, how to relate? Yes, you come from different countries, or you've traveled around the world so much that you have a global perspective, and still you can help people understand you, relate, and assimilate the culture. So
Yes,
find a
like,
plan
like,
to
like you
assimilate
said,
yourself into it.
yeah, the best thing that you could do is learn about sports, to have the small talk. That's the best tip. So I really want to thank you for the time to have this conversation with you on a Saturday. I really appreciate it. And if anyone wants to reach out to Ilya or to me, um, send us a direct message and let's start the conversation. So I wish you all a great weekend and all the best.
Thank you so much, Tina, for inviting me. And as an immigrant, we can talk hours and for hours about our experience. So find the small talk. Some people, are against the small talk, and they might tell you anything, but in reality, a small talk as an immigrant it's like throwing the fishing rod, just to see if you can connect with someone, and lean
Yeah.
on. If there are people who really are not resonating with you, well, there's a minority. Just go for it and show yourself the attitude. You have the attitude
Yes,
that
and thank you everyone for sending comments here. That really show that you show up, and here you can make connections, and just one comment can make a new connection. So thank you so much, and bye bye.
Tina, Aline on Instagram said that she's your big fan. So thank you so much for
Oh,
tuning in. Hi. Hi, Negrita. Hi, Mantuana.
bye everyone on
Bye.
LinkedIn.
Thank you so much, Tina. Talk to you next time.
Bye.